What's up, guys? We are back with another Ghostbusters Plasma Series review, taking a look at the second of two non-Ghostbuster figures in this first wave. We are taking a look at Dana Barrett, the, dare I say, the likely peg warmer in this first wave. If there's only going to be one, it's going to be this one. So we've got her here in the standard packaging for the line. Figure in the window. You've got the Ghostbusters suit motif packaging design. So you've got the Ghostbusters logo with the name patch design down there. We got some stylized artwork on the side, and then the back of the box has got a lineup and a bio, just like we see with Marvel Legends. So let's do it. Let's pull her out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Dana Barrett figure, our Sigourney Weaver figure, and I would say that my approximation about this figure in the box is probably going to ring true out of the box. This definitely has peg warmer written all over it, especially in comparison to Ghostbusters and then comparison to Gozer, just based on, you know, the look. It's just a woman in a dress who has a slightly distressed, almost evil look on her face, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot of dynamic, exciting stuff going on here, and I think this figure's likely going to suffer for it. It also has some weird issues of its own, so we'll get to those. So let's take a look at how she moves. It's kind of what you might expect for this line, especially based on the fact that she's in, you know, kind of a dress. So you've got a head that really cannot do anything on the upswing because of this big fat head of hair. She can look down really good though. There isn't much tilt, but there's a little. Then you've got full rotation. Arms go out at the shoulders. They do rotate. You've got a single rotating elbow, but she's got these long sleeves, so it's a different sculpt on each side. It's a little bit less than 90 on her left, and then you've got a slightly better cut on her right. It's basically 90 degrees. You've got a diaphragm cut, so she goes backwards and forwards, but when you go backwards, you actually see a buck underneath there. That is a just a body piece under there coming up from the bottom, so you can see her stomach sticking through if you go too far back. You go down, forward a little bit, tilt side to side, and then you've got full rotation. The legs only really go out about that far. They could most certainly go out further, but of course you've got the big dress here. She kicks forward about that far, and then she kicks forward about that far. There is a thigh cut up there. You've got double jointed knees, but you're never going to be able to use them. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down at what seem like the tiniest of feet. So she is, again, not a dynamic figure. This is going to be something that is likely just going to be standing on a shelf doing nothing. Where this figure is kind of truly, I don't know, a bummer, I suppose, is the looks. There's really not a lot to be excited about here. And it just comes down to the fact that it's, again, just a woman in a dress. And I'll say that it doesn't look really anything like the woman it's supposed to look like. I cannot for the life of me even begin to really see Sigourney Weaver in this head sculpt. And the body on this figure is kind of weird. So there is a decent amount of paint, but not in the sense that it's tons of detail. It's mostly that you've got paint here for the tunic, and then you've got paint on the outside of the dress, because the inside is actually this kind of gold color, and then you've got the paint on the outside. There is some underwear going on up in there if you are truly interested in that, and then you've got the sleeves painted on this particular side here, and then it's just molded plastic over on this side. She has some really weird wrists where these peg in. The actual wrist itself is really just oddly articulated, so they just look really bulbousy and fat. I mean, it's basically a tube coming down. There is no definition, no real sculpt there. It just looks like a tube coming down, and then a wrist peg goes into it. The hands look fine though. The legs have absolutely no paint on them. They have very little definition to them, and they've got really small, stubby little feet on them. They look incredibly tiny. These do not look like they're even in scale with the figure to me. Something about them just seems off. They look like baby feet. So there is, there is some likeness here to what the character should look like. The dress looks okay. I'm happy with the way it hangs and the way it looks. It definitely restricts articulation, but it looks fine in that regard. Where everything really kind of comes crashing down, though, at least for me, is the head. Because, frankly, this just doesn't look like Sigourney Weaver to me. It looks like Sarah Jessica Parker, honestly. If I'm basing it on anything in reality, it does not look like Sigourney Weaver. It looks like Sarah Jessica Parker. It looks very much incorrect. Something about it just doesn't seem right, especially head-on. The face kind of looks almost too fat. The jawline looks really thick. The photoreal, as far as paint application, looks good, but it's certainly not helping anything with the likeness for me. And the head of hair, I mean, it's okay. It's a huge brick of plastic sitting on her head, really, though. It's just got a ton of sculpt. It does look good. It looks like it should, but in most lights, especially from the front, something about this face just does not look right. It certainly looks better from the side to me. It still doesn't look like Sigourney Weaver from the side, but it looks better that way to me. It's just all about this straight-on view. Something about it just, that doesn't look right. Now, of course, we have to talk about size and scale, and this is another instance of this line kind of being a little weird because she is slightly taller than the Ghostbusters, and that's not necessarily accurate. They all kind of vary. Obviously, they're not all exactly the same height, but they're all basically 6 feet or a little bit taller. And she is just a little bit bigger than both of the figures that I have, and it doesn't seem correct. It doesn't really look all that accurate. Somehow, to me, these guys look even smaller when they're next to this figure, so that's kind of weird. So let's pull them aside, and then we'll take a look at, I don't know, something else. So here we go with Stan Lee. You can see that he is basically the same height as Dana here, and then the Mando is just ever so taller, not too much, but there's a little bit of extra height there. And then for another, I don't know, female figure, here's Scarlett from the G.I. Joe line. And when I did, a review of Gozer, I kind of mentioned that Scarlett made Gozer look even smaller, but in this instance, Scarlett kind of makes Dana look very much normal and kind of similar to her. So it's definitely weird how this figure seems to be a little bit proportionally larger in some ways than the other figures, at least to me. So yeah, that's about it. There's nothing else to this figure because she doesn't have any accessories, and she is just kind of boring. There's really not a lot to be excited about on this one. The rest of the figures I'm still fairly happy with so far. This one, though, is just there's not anything to it. It's just a woman in a dress that kind of looks halfway possessed but doesn't look like the actress to me, and has some halfway decent articulation but some really odd sculpt, especially when it comes to those feet and those weird wrists and forearms. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on with this figure. I don't know how many Ghostbusters fans are really going to be excited about this one. Someone like me, I'm a fan but not like a diehard fan, this is definitely leaving me wanting a little bit more, to be a little bit more excited about this one. And I would say without a doubt now, at this point, having run through this figure, I mean, we got peg warmer material all over this one. I really don't see how it's going to end up any other way. So that's going to do it for this look at the Ghostbusters Plasma Series Dana Barrett figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.